So, welcome to another episode of the Danai Garcia podcast. And we're all about collecting and growing seeds. And today I have Garrett Dillahunt. He's like the best. And I just see him light up my day already. So, I'm excited to share some really cool seeds with you. Garrett.
Seeds.
Seeds.
I deny.
Hi. I'm happy you're here. So, let's talk about nerds. Because I never tell anybody I'm a nerd. You know why?
Because everybody already knows.
No. Because when I came to this country, I remember people made fun of nerds. Where I come from, it's not this cultural thing like in the movies, like American Pie and all this movie, like, oh, you're a nerd, you're not cool. And also being on the show, it attracts a lot of like nerds. And what's the other word for nerds? Geeks. What's the difference between nerd and a geek?
I don't know. I think they're pretty similar. Yeah.
Why do they have different names? I thought it meant something in English.
I'm not an expert on
on the subject.
Even though I am one. Yeah.
So you consider yourself a nerd or a geek?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe geek is more technological.
It sounds like more tech stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't smoke, I don't drink.
Yeah.
Never have. I like to read books.
Yeah.
I'm a bookworm.
Yeah. Well, I when I got here, they were saying, "Oh my God, you're such a nerd. You're such a nerd." And then I would watch movies, and then nerds is like, "You're not cool.
Yeah,
you are not cool." And I was so confused. And then I stopped telling people that I like to write and research and read. Like I love books. I just ordered.
Yeah, I think the definition's changed. Like people are wise to the nerds now. Comic-Cons are huge.
Oh my God.
Huge.
Yeah.
Big business.
Yeah.
Successful people.
Well, the comics, like all the Marvels,
the
comics were for the nerds. And look at that now.
Yeah, now it's
like
mainstream.
It's really what's keeping the entertainment business together.
The whole technological, life that is such a huge part of Facebook and Twitter. I mean,
that's huge.
That's all nerds and geeks, and
How do you fall? How do you fall?
Why we think we're experts on nerds and geeks?
You have this great picture when you were little. You were blonde, and you were reading this beautiful book. I would never forget that picture. You were like, you had like long hair.
Oh yeah, okay, probably like sixth grade or something.
Something like that, and
yeah, I was a real towhead when I was born.
You were. When did that stop? Like you just turned like dirty.
I don't know. Like only
were...
recently do I like people write, what's your hair color, and I would write blonde just out of habit.
Do you really?
And then you're like, I don't really have blonde hair. It's pretty much brown.
Yeah, it is brown.
It just gets darker and darker.
Yeah.
As you get older, I don't know why.
I don't know, but
and gray hair.
But yeah, but that's you guys have a name for the beard. Lenny named it. When I saw you guys in Zoom, it was you, Lenny, and Coleman. All the boys have beards, and the girls, we had longer hair.
Yeah, the lockdown, we all just grew what hair we could grow.
Whatever grows is
your
gonna
hair
stay.
is really long.
It is long.
It looks good, and we kept it. They kept it.
I
Nice.
told them, please, it's the apocalypse. Why not? We
right.
just lived it. So how did Garrett turn from crazy book lover to acting? Like, was it something?
Well, it's not that far. Do you think it's a similar kind of discipline? I wanted to be a writer when I was younger. I was a journalism major in college.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote on the school paper.
What?
When I was in high school, I worked for the local newspaper
in
my little town. Yeah,
really?
I was like feature writer, photographer.
You were a proper nerd then, kid.
Yeah, I just loved it. Lou Grant was a popular TV show when I was a kid.
Oh.
Paper Chase, John Houseman in it. You don't know these shows.
No, I don't. I need to.
But I don't know if you need to, but I loved them when I was a kid. And it was very romantic being a reporter and, typewriters. I love typewriters, doing things by hand. And none of that's what goes on anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was very romantic notion for me. And I've always been a bookworm.
Writing, it's more like an a tangible thing that you can read while you write, but acting is so intangible.
It's kind of like writing live.
Yeah.
You're still telling a story.
Yeah.
And interpreting someone else's words often. to an audience. You know, you're trying to affect them in some way, not unlike when you write something.
It's a good transition.
Yeah, and I haven't written much since I started acting at
Why?
all. I don't know. I think a similar itch is being scratched.
I think you're just being,
you know, and I've been fortunate to have challenging roles. I just haven't had the hunger, but you know,
you
I keep a journal. You know, I go through spates of journaling.
Really?
But it's something I should do. I feel guilty about it. I should write more.
That's so when you started in the theater. So how do you start acting though? Like when did you decide from like, I don't want to be...
I'm sure some of your people might have heard this story, but I started school pretty young. I was a year young for my grade. So I was always small. Was
you say that and you're like so tall.
I know. I grew up, but, and I'm glad of it now. You know, I'm glad that high school wasn't like the peak times for me. You know, a lot of people it is, and they struggle. But it was hard. You know, I couldn't get a girlfriend. You know, I was shy. You know, and but my senior year, I was just starting my senior year, and I'm the middle of three boys. My mom had three boys. My older brother, Eric, had graduated the year before.
Oh, you guys were young in age, too.
Yeah. I think he got held back a year, and I skipped a year. So we ended up right behind each other.
Oh, that's crazy.
Right, because we're all about 3 years apart.
Oh, okay.
But I'd finally gotten a date.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Shannon. She was great. And we went and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think. I put my arm around her, and it was like trembling.
Oh, trembling,
my
watching.
Arm was trembling. Like she told me later. But I came home that night, and there was a police car in my yard, and they were there to tell us that my brother had died in a drunk driving accident. My older brother. He liked to play bass.
That same date that you went on a first date?
Yeah, and he wanted to be a musician. You know, he's a real good bass player. He would just play the radio and play bass to any song. He was a weirdo too.
Wow.
You know, he was quiet, shy, and he'd kind of keep time with his breath. He'd be like,
oh, that kind of a kid, yeah. He's feeling music.
Yeah, you know. So, you know, our world turned upside down real quick. You know, my dad's in the trucking industry. My mom was, you know, I think she was working at a ceramics company reception at the time, you know, so blue collar people.
Yeah.
You know, and not a ton of money. It's a small town, an agricultural town, and Eric was going to play a little gig with his band in this neighboring town, which is pretty far away. And him and his buddy were both drunk, and they went off the road. Eric was in the passenger seat, and he died. Mm. So that threw me for a big loop. It was a different world
100%.
for me, and I struggled that year. I quit the newspaper. I remember. I wish I hadn't done that because it was the best teacher.
Oh, really?
And I was a little lost, and it carried over into college, where I majored in journalism just because that had been my plan, but I didn't.
It was not your passion.
I didn't feel it anymore. I just didn't know what I wanted, and I got in a lot of fights. Me and fraternity guys just never saw eye to eye. And
you're like the sweetest
I was angry.
guy.
I was angry, you know. And when something like that happens to you, you think your pain is greater than anyone else's pain, and no one understands. And you learn soon that everyone has tragedy and everyone has, you know. Mm-hmm. But I kind of just drifted through college. Wow. You know, my last year.
Where did you go to college? The same town?
Well, same state.
Oh, okay, same state.
I went to University of Washington in Seattle, which was a beautiful campus. Yeah, Seattle was like a massive town.
Yeah, I looked it up because Alejandro.
Oh yeah,
just went. So we looked into colleges.
It's a great school.
It looks like an amazing school.
And it had a great acting program at the time. But I thought at one point, it's hard to make a living as a journalist, so maybe I should be a playwright as well.
Oh, is that how it went?
Yeah,
Wow.
just completely naive.
Just practical.
As if,
as if you know how it works out.
Yeah, or that writing plays is lucrative,
Right.
like it's a tough life.
It's huge.
But part of that requirement, I sort of minored in it, was taking an acting class so that you knew.
That was your minor.
Well, playwriting was.
Oh.
But part of being a playwright was like, okay, why don't you take this basic acting class so that you know what you're going to have to write for, like how to
deal with
what
actors
go through, and I was mortified. I was so shy. I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't do speech class, in high school.
Wow.
It was just get up and talk about anything for 2 minutes.
Oh my God, that's the worst.
I couldn't do it. I was the color of your lips. Just so embarrassed. And so it was awful. And so, but who knew that it's exactly what I needed, because I could be other people. I think in retrospect, you realize how much you sort of either were hiding or self-loathing or whatever, and to escape. And I just thrived. I had no idea. I wasn't shy anymore.
The shyness went away.
Because someone told me what to say. Some genius writer was like, here's what you're going through and what to say. And it was all up to me about how to
say it,
how to show it, and I just dove in. I would do scenes from my own class. I would do scenes for the director's classes. I would do
You would write yourself your own
stage
scene.
if I could do it. But I remember just like running from rehearsal to rehearsal on campus, and just for the first time in years feeling alive and awake and valuable and valued, and distracted probably more than anything.
Yeah, well, the one thing acting is you have to be very present. You
in that thing,
in the moment that you are acting. It's
and I think I was hungry to do that. I was hungry to not be in my own head.
Yes.
Or, and also, he was an artist, my brother, and I wanted to do something for us, Your motivations change for doing things because you heal, hopefully. It's been a long time. Yeah. It's been a long time since he died. He was 19, I'm 55 now.
Yes.
But at the same time, those habits I established then, which was doing 10 things at once.
That was your foundation.
I realize I still do.
Yes, your foundation.
I go from job to job to job, or I'll sometimes have more than one job at a time.
Which is incredible. Your capacity.
It is, but it's not necessarily the smartest thing, and it might be worth stopping and examining things sometimes. You know what I mean? Instead of avoiding.
Yeah.
So it started a habit that I think.
But you have such a capacity to carry roles, like one after another, without it feels like after you finish one, you flush something in there, but you already recharge to the next. It's a huge capacity. I've been watching you for years. Just jump from one to the next, and they're so different from each other. It's not like you're.
I really like that too.
Which is unbelievable.
Really far from me.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I'm hungry. Did you hear
that? Was that you? Yeah.
Maybe it would be good to examine yourself sometimes more, but it's certainly something I have avoided for a long time.
When you jump from one world to the next to a different life, because everyone is completely different. Whatever you do is just completely different. There's a part of you that you're not listening to because you're like the voice of so many people. Right.
And I find it's hard to have opinions sometimes because you stand in so many people's shoes. You're sort of like, oh, I get what your point is.
That's what happened to me.
I kind of get what your point is too.
You become very empathetic.
Yeah, and it's
painful.
It's frustrating sometimes to move through the real world when
exact same thing. It's like, oh, but I get it. But he's evil. I understand where it comes from. It just becomes painful.
Yeah,
because you have to set boundaries in a way. It's weird watching you say this because I found acting when this 2 months after I became a mother. Like I had my son at 17, and I remember it was a shift. Like I don't know what happened to me, but all of a sudden I'm like, I need to find what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life because I need to provide for this kid. And I remember I come from dance, and I knew dancing was not it because dance is such a short career. And listening to you talk, it's funny how when you're going through difficult times, how the arts sometimes save you. Like the arts,
a certain kind of person.
To a certain kind of person, and it did. I remember when I started theater, I remember I didn't know what I was doing, but it felt good to step into somebody else's world.
Yeah,
it felt comfortable.
Well, it was a hard road.
Otherwise,
you started on, and it must have been nice to.
It was really nice
step in another.
And I'm not somebody that cries easily or feels like I'm not a wreck. You know, I'm always kind of like, I was born and raised with this kind of way to, oh, it's difficult. Okay, let's just figure it out. But acting, the fact that you can be crazy, or I go through extremes with characters that I could never do myself. And at that time, being 17 alone, it's like you were fighting. I was just like feeling so much inside,
and different way,
and I couldn't put it out. And through these roles, that I was able to hear my own voice that I never heard before. And not that having a kid is traumatic. I don't want people, but
it's a big change.
It's a huge change, and
it's a thing that
it's like
it defeats a lot of people.
It does,
you know, and it says something about you, Danai. One of the things I love about you is you just will not be stopped. You know, the obstacles that I'm aware of, I don't know if your audience is, would really have caved a lot of other people.
Yeah,
but you did it as well as didn't give up a dream. I mean, it's a pretty amazing thing.
Because the dream was not just, I want to be this. The dream, the journey, the roles were really my salvation in a weird way. I was going from role to role, giving everything, feeling better, like dealing. And I felt like I was able to deal with my life better, because I'm like, have this crazy scene and I slept better. I had this crazy scene. It turned out well. The movie was well. I'm like, oh, I guess I have another job. So everything kind of like worked out with, but it doesn't happen all the time with the arts. I feel like some actors, this job can be toxic if they don't deal with, if they don't deal with it the right way. For listening to you, I was able to go back to being 17. You just took me right back in a weird way.
I think I've been stuck about 17 for a long time. 16.
You were 16.
I was 16 when he died. Yeah.
I was 17 when I had that.
And you get kind of arrested in these moments sometimes. You know.
You do.
I've made a lot of mistakes because of that. Too.
Well,
you know, I'm not 16. You know, you can't be pretending you're 16. You know.
Well, you're not a 16-year-old actor. I tell you that. You really went through. I think you're one of the best actors I've ever worked with.
Well, that's high praise.
And that's pretty amazing, because not that I've worked with a bunch of people, but
don't dilute it, Danai.
But
one of the greatest actors she's ever worked with.
No, but you are, because I remember when I saw you the first time I saw you, we never had a normal conversation. We were in a table read. I didn't know how you would talk normally. I heard you as John Dory, and you had this crazy monologue that it was, I remember when I got that script, I'm like, who's going to play this role? This is like the beginning of the entire season. And it was like, I don't know how many pages was that, but you were.
It was a great intro.
It was an amazing intro.
Potentially great character.
Yeah. And I was, when I saw you on the table read, I was so impressed with your read. You were performing with your soul. It was something that I never felt before from an actor.
I like table reads, and I like it. I think because I did theater for so many years.
I was going to say,
you sort of,
you feel like
kind of know how
back
to do
in school.
it.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of, because it's too early to be performing.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't like it when actors just kind of half read it, or, you know, it's helpful for the writers to hear it, even minimally performed, or, you know.
You were brilliant.
It's not,
and I was like, whoever this guy is, I want to work with him every day.
Yeah. Well, I wish we got to work together more.
I actually got up and our showrunners, that was their first season. And I stood up and I went to them. We were new in this whole thing together. And I said, whatever is happening with John Dory, I want to work with him. Oh, okay. I remember I never told you that, but
No, you didn't. It's nice.
I didn't know them that much. So I was like, I wish. Yeah.
They had other plans.
They had other plans, but then I started seeing you as you after I met John Dory in a table. And then I realized that you were this kind of shy person. And then you were funny. And then I realized you do martial arts. And then I'm like, okay, this guy is very complete. And then I started looking at your work, what you've done before. And you've done everything, right? Basically.
I don't feel that way,
but no, you've done comedy. You've done
I see.
like
I like really, to change. I like to do things different than I did before. You know, hopefully the next job after this will be something different from John Doerr. Otherwise, I just don't feel like I'm growing. You know, and that's tricky too. You know, Janai. A lot of, you know, you look at a lot of bigger stars, and they kind of do the same thing a lot, and I know it's a bit frustrating for them sometimes. The ones I know are like, oh, I'd love to do this.
Of course.
And sometimes they do, and you know, and they have a great time, but the audience is like, oh, I want to see the guy I know, you know, the comforting action star, you know. So they're a little trapped sometimes by their own fame, but.
Do you feel nervous when you start a role? Like,
sure,
because it's new.
Sure, sometimes
it's a new life.
Sometimes I get most nervous when, because now, you know, to my great good fortune, I get offers more than I used to, you know. And sometimes, like, well, it'll be the first day on set, and I'll think, oh, they've never heard me say a word as this guy, you know, and I hope they like it.
I hope they like it.
Because, you know.
That's all I got.
Yeah. But so far, so good. You know, it's.
I feel like when we get nervous is when we're dealing with the right characters and we're in the right path.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. I was talking to Ruben, and you know, he's an attorney, he's an actor, he's a musician, he's all this stuff, and I always ask him, I'm like, Ruben, as a musician, he's amazing in the Hispanic world, and I just asked him, I'm like, how is it that you transcend generations? Because Ruben is like 70s. How do you transcend? And he said, I just do things that scare me a little bit. Because in a way, you know, you have the tools, but you don't know. So when you're in that place, it's, I feel that's when I know that I'm in the right path, because I feel like a little bit uncertain. So when I watch Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, even like, oh my God, Joker is such a specific character. And then you see him, oh, wow.
Yeah.
He was nervous. You can tell that he was like going.
And it's one of those roles now because of Heath's performance, Heath Ledger's.
Yes.
You know, the people thought, well, who can play better than that? You know, so it's a big challenge and a real sign of his. Not that you're trying to beat somebody, but you want to.
You want to create
try,
something.
You want to, you know, put your own spin on things, and I mean that must be a wonderful. You know, I have a real hard time saying no to things, which is a problem. You know,
why is that?
Why is it a problem, or why is it hard to say no?
Why is it hard to say no? Is it because of the
I don't know. I think just because of, you know, the way I grew up, it's just like it's a good job. You know, it's hard to say no to a good job. You know, and it's hard times out there. Who am I to be like, you know?
Wait, I can't do this.
But that said, I think it's a mistake a lot of the times, because then you end up in places you're not happy often, or not challenged, and you're wasting time.
Yeah.
You know, I think it benefits an actor to wait for the right project,
to wait for the one that makes you nervous,
to risk that financial, you know, you know, health sometimes, to make sure you're doing what you're contributing something.
You know what's weird about this job? This is a job that we're not, as humans, we're not made to do. Like back in the day, the cavemen, you get up, you go to work, sun goes down, you go back home. The next day you go to work. This job, is that once you finish a project, you're unemployed again. And it's a weird feeling to feel like you don't have a job.
Yeah.
You have to wait for the right roles, and then, but you're unemployed. It's not like you're like doing something.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to take something.
Sometimes you have to take something, but it's unusual.
Responsibilities. Yeah.
It's unusual to be on a hold.
And work isn't supposed to be fun. You know?
Yes.
People don't like it that this is my job sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like work is supposed to be a grind. You can, you know, and it doesn't have to be. And maybe work is the wrong thing to call it. You know, maybe we're super fortunate, you know, even more than I realize, that this is how we can make a living.
It's just crazy.
You know, pretending, you know, but is it, you know, is it important? I think so.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's the most important thing in the world or anything, but it has a place and it has value.
Well, during the lockdown, we are actors. What we did was sit down and watch something, try to heal something inside us while the world is really collapsing in a way. It's like stories really is what connect us to humanity, even when we can't leave our house.
And
that's
I kind of saw how powerful it can be, like for bad and good.
Yeah, for bad and good.
You know, with all the stuff happening right now, all the shit going on in this world, and the racial tension that still exists, and how much damage our business has done along those lines, reinforcing stereotypes. And I mean, there's a real onus on us to do the right thing, you know, and pick the right project and make sure what we're saying is the truth. It's
truth, or at least that contributes to society in some weird way.
Yeah.
Like when people receive it, they can see things in a different way, with more hope or more, just kind of educating.
Or just seeing themselves.
Or seeing themselves in it.
You know, it's important. You know, it's like there's so many, there's just as wide a spectrum in Cuba, in personality types or whatever, as there is in my little white hometown.
100%.
You know, there's the cool guy, the nerds, there's the bookworms, you know what I
mean?
The
musician,
it's not all, it's just amazing how fearful people have become of the other, or because you think in one term about an entire block of people painted with this one brush, and it's
not.
And you're starting to see, you know, film and TV now that looks more like the world. You know, it sounds more like the world, and you're seeing, you know, it's kind of marvelous.
It's really, we're in a really good place. It's now shifting in a way.
Yeah, I don't think it's something to be scared of. You know, I know I hear a lot of white actors worried and complaining, like, well, I can't get that job now because there's blah, blah. And you're just like, I think there'll still be plenty of white.
Oh my God.
You know? I think you'll be all right. Maybe you're just not that good. You know, it's another possibility.
Well, if you cannot see that humans, we have this spectrum of like so much, we can contribute to so much in so many different ways, not just in one page. You're not one page person. You're like a huge dictionary of like personality types and aspirations and ways you can really project in the world. Like it's just, and I feel like we've made this crazy mistake to project certain person as one page book, and we're not, because we have goals. We have we're born and raised in different places, different cultures,
but at the same time, it's, you know, like, I don't think people would guess your story if they met you.
No.
They would see this beautiful person.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said yes. Glad you know you're beautiful.
Because
you are.
No, that's what I meant is like, they don't see.
But they might have some real stereotypical notions about Cuba and Cubans.
Exactly.
You know, and they might be shocked at the detail and the journey you've had, and she's a ballerina. Like, and like, is there ballet in Cuba? You know, and it's just like, well, sure there is, or like, there is. Well, I can relate to that. Or
of course,
it's just it's an amazing thing, you know, this detail about people that I don't know why we don't seek it out. I don't know why we don't.
And it's weird because now everybody has social media. Everybody projects their own world all the time. And we still try to put ourselves in this box.
Right. Like what a great tool could have been if we all were like, this is what my life is actually like.
Yeah.
Instead of like, curating
let's
your
try
life.
to put it like how everybody will understand it.
Mm-hmm. Or that it looks just like that perfect life.
Yeah. So everybody can really like it or.
Still one definition of a perfect life almost,
Exactly. And that's my thing about social media is like learning because those are little stories that defines a profile, a person. Like what you project is what you get. You're going to get people thinking that you're like this perfect person with this perfect life, whatever. But then we're fooling ourselves. And that's kind of like what has been happening in the entertainment business. We've been fooling ourselves, and now we have to tell different stories. And characters, they have to change because we can't keep putting them in this little box for everybody to be like, oh, I relate, when there's so many ways that we can relate to each other.
Yeah.
So many ways. So I feel like I'm very hopeful about that. I do. I mean, you have played so many different men. Like the Raising Hope is like a completely different Garrett.
It's kind of most like me, probably.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I watched this episode that you guys were like cleaning the germs,
mm-hmm.
and the grandma came and she just like,
yeah,
just like
we had infrared, whatever UV.
That was so cool.
It was a lot of fun.
I've been watching your stuff, and you have played really dark, funny cowboy, but in everything that you see that you've done, that I really appreciate, there's a sense of there's a laughing person inside. Like there's a little bit of comedy.
That's good.
Like with John Dory, I remember watching you, and even though you're in pain looking for Laura or June, by the time we didn't know her name, you have moments of, I don't want to call it comedy because it's not like you're trying to be funny, but it's like seeing life with a touch of like light.
Yeah, I liked that too.
And then you did the same thing with like Assassination of Jesse James. You had, and it's usually a monologue inside you. It's not like you're.
Well, I do think that there's a lot of humor in tragedy, even, and certainly people deal with things in weird ways. Even that night of Eric's death, I remember my best friend came out because we just didn't know what.
I'm sure.
What was, we just were walking forever. There's these dirt roads we'd go down, and I said, well, I wonder if he's going to get his car. Trying to make a joke. But it's this awful moment where it's
but it's like survival,
like
right?
Trying to make it like it's a way to get focus off yourself and like, hey, I'll make my buddy laugh, and like, which it wasn't that funny, but you're trying. You're trying to deal. There's no template on how to deal with stuff.
And you really projected in each one of your roles so beautiful. I was, like I said, I've been pretty impressed. I've been watching you. I've been pretty impressed with the way you project the world in each one of these roles. It's not just, I never told you this. I mean, because we're always working, or, we
don't hang out.
We don't hang out. And then now the COVID, it's like.
The COVID.
COVID. How do you say that? In
English?
Did I say it wrong? You see, when you laugh like that, I'm like, did I say something wrong?
I wanted to say, I've just don't hear people say the COVID.
The COVID.
The COVID is here. Who's that at the door? I think it's the COVID.
Yeah, I sprayed the whole thing. That's funny. But I never have, because we've been working for like, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
So every time we come back, I watch things that you've done, and I never, and I have to be better at this. I want to text you and say, hey, I love this.
Well, it is one good thing about the COVID, isn't it?
COVID.
It feels like, we should communicate with people more, and I'm the same. I'm way too lonery, or I think people don't want to hear from me, or I'm quiet and shy, whatever. Like, oh, I'm so shy. It's so stupid.
At 17.
But it's valuable to tell people
How are you
you're
doing?
important to me, Danai. You're
Oh,
important
you are
to me.
too.
And it's something that we should do more.
Yeah.
So I need to do that more too.
Yeah, no, so I wanted to tell you that I love this little bit of pepper of humor that you put in everything you do at the worst time too. You just like throw it out.
Well, sometimes don't you get tired of watching? Like, how often are you watching someone you know what the person's going to say?
Yes.
And they all kind of act the same, and we've all got the same stubble, and we've all got.
How do you keep yourself that tuned?
Well, I had a great director one time. This is a theater guy, and he had a couple of different things. Once he said, he was British, and this is going to be a bad British accent, so apologies. But he said,
then it's my turn to be like,
he said, if you have a bit you love, you should consider cutting it. Because it becomes this thing you drive toward.
Oh. And
you forgo all the things leading up to it that could also be interesting because you're so in love with this one moment that this kills every night,
Oh.
So it was about trying different things, and I liked that. And
what were you doing with him? Were you doing a project?
Yeah, theater? It was a play called Mad Forest. It was my first job out of school.
Wow.
It was about the Romanian Revolution. It's still the biggest hit of my theatrical career.
Really?
Yeah.
Your first one?
Yeah, it was a great cast of people that I still see today.
Nice.
Callista Flockhart was in it, and Jake Weber, and this great writer, actor named Tim Blake Nelson, who just was in Watchmen.
Huh.
Real great kids that I'd been hearing of from all these other schools. But, stuff like that. And he also talked about how a lot of actors, like say you have a scene that's grief, something about, and they'll do the scene like they've seen other actors portray grief, as opposed to grief.
Grief, yeah.
Maybe how they might feel grief personally, or something they saw in like a real person.
Right.
Instead of this sort of, and it's why we see so many things that doesn't surprise us or particularly move us, because all you really see is someone trying to squeeze out some tears, maybe, or not blinking because I know that my eyes will get irritated and they'll start to water and that'll look like grief. And you're just like, why isn't this guy blinking?
Yeah, it's not natural.
And you're not moved. It's a laziness.
And
it's a self-consciousness that we all fall prey to. But I think the best stuff, it's why, like, say Joaquin as Joker or something, where people they imagine something outside of a viewed experience.
Oh, the predictable.
They imagine something, and it's not even necessarily maybe that they're trying to be unpredictable. It's just that they're trying to be truthful, instead of imitative.
Right.
And then the world's open to you, right?
Yeah.
Because it could be anything. You can see someone like Anthony Hopkins in Remains of the Day, maybe just trying to contain emotion as was so much more illuminating about this person, this man, his whole life, than someone just sort of sobbing, or that seems you're having the catharsis for the audience. Yeah. But
when they should be having it for you.
Yeah. And I don't know, I feel silly talking about acting sometimes, but it's just so great when it's great.
It's magic.
And if people are confident enough in themselves that their experience, their idea, I don't know what your family was like. You could draw from things you saw in your family that I maybe have never seen. And I would think, I've never seen an actor do that. And it's also a brave thing to do and a generous thing to do. Like I'm going to give you a piece of my history, a piece of my experience that you might not have shared. You've shared something like it because you'll recognize this.
Right.
But it's going to be different than what you've seen.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Then no one else can do it.
No. And so that's how you keep your tune. I love that. That's how you keep yourself tuned. Because actors become repetitive, like we were talking.
Yeah, and it's hard. I can't. I'm saying I don't do it too, or
no. But
I'll grab something I've done before. I'm just being lazy. I'm sorry.
No. It's basically that's what just really inspire me about you is like, you just don't do things twice.
Mm.
And if you do, you're really good at it. Oh, I never told you, but I'm like, I need to talk to you and tell you. I really feel like what I've noticed is that little pinch of humor in the most unpredictable places, right? When everything is like dead and gone, you just like.
I know it's something that I do. Like when I'm nervous.
I love that.
You know, if I love somebody and they don't love me, or, you know, I joke all the time, and I don't feel like joking.
You don't feel like it's a joke, right?
I don't feel like, I feel like cutting up. It's not that. It's just a knee-jerk response in me. I just try to make this person laugh. Or if it's a difficult discussion we're having, I'll try to undercut it with humor.
It's so human.
And that's what people do. Yeah.
It's so human.
You know,
but it's hard to recreate that in a role. It's hard to find those moments in a role. And when you have an actor that sees through the lines and through his own insecurities and find that spot, those are the moments that you know that you're acting with somebody special.
And I think when we do those moments, not humor, but those unique, pure moments that are unique to you, somehow they are more relatable to the audience. The audience recognizes it.
I remember
They
it.
know exactly what you're
100%.
doing. And they're moved because it reminds them of their own experiences too. So it's a weird thing because it's not necessarily as unique as you might feel in a way because they recognize it.
Yes.
But they recognize it as true.
And it's never written. It's something you do.
And you see it in people, it was acting, not acting, whatever. When people tell the truth or they allow themselves to be vulnerable about something, I mean, it's like the world stops, you know, like everyone's just like, did you see that thing where the mother was talking about on the news? And then just like, because they understood those feelings. I'm not a father, but when I see a father, you know, talking about their daughter it's like, I know what he's feeling. How can that be?
How can that be? Of course.
I don't have that experience, you know,
but you can recreate it.
He was honest.
You recreate it in such a way that you can.
He allowed it.
Yeah, you allow it to happen, but you create that, and then that's. What is it that you're looking for now in roles, storytelling?
I don't know. I'm going through a big change, I think.
What happened after COVID? After the COVID, like we're still going through it.
It's been a tricky one for me. I don't know.
This is like 7 months without work for us. How did it feel?
So thinking about work and thinking about things you've done, or like I really miss the sort of naive enthusiasm I had when I started. You know, I really miss, like, what are we going to do?
Didn't you feel it now? Like now the fact that we couldn't go back to work for 7 months.
Well, I certainly felt grateful for things, and I felt like I should be more grateful as they're happening. I should enjoy experiences more than critique them. And that's been hard. You know, I went back and did, this is related, so it sounds like a bad tangent, but
okay.
I went back and did a small little cameo in the Deadwood movie, right? And I was talking with Tim Oliphant on the movie because we were talking about how much Deadwood, the original series, in a lot of ways ruined us because it spoiled us so much because it was just the most amazing artistic experience. And we've all sort of tried to recreate that experience on every job we've had since, which could be okay, but it could also be bad. You know, you're not allowing the job to be what it is or these new people, but you know, so I think I thought about things like that a lot. You know, the time we took, you know, it was so collaborative. An actor would do something and David would see it and he could hear him yelling from behind camera, like, yeah, now do that again, but say this. Like because then he'd change the line that he had written because of what you had done.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And so then you're excited because you affected him. Like he liked it so much that not only does he want to keep it, he's going to change the line so that it supports what you did because he knows it just made the story that he's trying to tell better. He's that confident, right? He's not, he's not one of those that's cut these words and they would bleed. He might have to do the cutting. He wouldn't respond well if I came with like, here's a monologue I rewrote for you.
Yes.
That would be foolish. But he was open to it. And then because of that change, maybe, the camera guy is like, well, if they're going to do it, I should shoot it from over here.
Oh, it was a collaborator.
And the DP would be like, let's move this, yeah, okay. Cause it'd be nice if he's going to say it. And then the sunset should be behind him. So everyone on set, it was just such an ensemble, such a team. It wasn't, no one was dictating anything. We all were just, playing our parts.
It showed
as best as we could. And it made us, people would come to set when they weren't working just to watch, just to hang out.
That's fun.
I've never experienced that on any other
That's
job.
amazing.
It's amazing.
Wow. I remember Kim was talking
that's
so much about it. Kim Dickens, she loves it, and Dayton too. I know everybody that I've worked with, they're like, Deadwood is like, it's like the place to be, like, and even to grow, to perform, to have fun. It kind of like had everything.
And just the best writing and the best, the depth. I mean, he wrote in blank verse. I mean, it's like iambic pentameter.
Really?
I mean, there's soliloquies in this thing, really. Like there's William Sanderson scrubbing blood off the hotel floor all alone and has this monologue about his status and his place. And he's throwing the brush and it's like, there's no one here. And it's a television show, but this is a soliloquy.
That's it.
This is like Hamlet.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was an amazing thing, but in a lot of ways, it made me feel like I need to apologize to a lot of people, for expecting them to be that. And look, we took 21 days to shoot an episode one time. 21 days.
21 days?
Yeah, on Deadwood. That's not going to happen.
Is that a 45-minute episode?
Well, they're about an hour. It's HBO. There's no commercials.
Wow, that's pretty.
But still,
that's like.
I'm sure HBO wasn't happy about it.
Somebody was not happy about it.
So you can't really compare.
Yeah.
The two, that's unfair when someone's like, we have 8 days. That's it.
Yeah.
And we got to go, and we don't have time to sit here and mull over.
Yeah.
So it's unfair, and you're denying yourself maybe an equally, if different, positive experience on this instead of wishing for what it's not.
And where are you now that you got to that conclusion moving forward after the lockdown? And
well, I think there's seasons in a life. Don't you? I mean, you're younger than me, I see your energy and you're just your eyes are sparkly. You're just like, what next am I going to do? And you're excited to do it, and I'm feeling retrospective and introspective a bit, and I'm gonna wait for my next job, and I've never done that before. I've never just said no and waited. I'm turning stuff down, and I'm like really nervous about it. But I'm like, it just doesn't feed me. I don't have time.
Yes,
I don't feel like I have time to waste on something that doesn't really interest me.
Right.
And it would be a disservice to those projects to do them then.
Yeah, it's
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Find someone that really wants to do it or needs to do it.
Are you more leaning towards drama, comedy?
I don't have a big preference that way. I really enjoy them both. In fact, sometimes I think I had just done Last House on the Left.
That was intense.
And it was the end of a string of just brutality jobs, that I had done. I raped and pillaged and killed so many pretend people, I just was like, let's find some comedy.
Right. Yeah. Because you needed to balance.
Yeah. And that's why I found Raising Hope.
Oh,
so
wow.
I did Raising Hope, for 4 years. And that was a lot of fun and a really heart-filled show.
Where did you guys shoot that? At home in LA?
In LA.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. After that, the darkness, here comes the light.
Yeah.
In your hometown.
Yeah. It was marvelous.
That's cool.
So
where are you at now? You're like in the middle of you can go either way, comedy or drama.
A comedy would be fun. I showed you a script that I liked very much.
Yes.
You'd be great in.
Yes, you too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just kind of waiting for that thing.
You're waiting for that thing that will click. And how do you know that? Just the writing.
Yeah.
And the director.
It's a big part about who you're going to be working with. That's for sure. Although, there was a time that no one could have found anything out about me, and I thought they should choose me. So it's not that you have to be experienced. Some of my best experiences have been with first-time directors. So I wouldn't count someone out.
That's crazy.
You have to be, but it's just about the part. I'm at a stage that I feel I can shoulder more responsibility. I showed you Monsters of God, and I think I'm a good number one. I think I can do that.
Oh yeah,
I think I set a good tone.
Yeah,
because there's intangibles on the set that people don't realize that I think can supersede things like fame or and a happy set that runs efficiently.
You need a good number one.
Get you out on time or early.
Yeah, your
crew is happier. It's cheaper. It's all kinds of things. Everybody can do better work. And I think if, we have good people on our shows.
Oh, yeah.
That are always prepared, are nice to people.
You're a hardworking person too.
Yeah, I like to work hard. I think we're made to work.
People think acting is easy, but it's, I've seen the people that I love and I appreciate, the one thing that gets me is not just talent, it's just that they work really hard. I spend a long time looking at one line sometimes, and when I'm on set and I can feel the same energy from somebody else, it's not like I'm saying
disappears.
It's just everything goes away, and it's like it's when magic starts.
Yeah,
it's when this kind of life I discovered at 17. I didn't know what it was. It just happens now, and the other person wants to live it too. It's like. It's magical, but you only achieve that when you look at that line at home over and over, that you can then let it go.
And imagine. Just let your imagination
work. And let it all flow together at that moment, and trust that person to bounce back with you. It sounds easy, but it really takes a long time to get to that place and trust it. Right?
I think so.
It's
I sure appreciate actors that do that. I like actors who aren't afraid to work with better actors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
Where I grow. And I've worked with many before who try to cast weak actors around themselves because they think it'll make them look better.
Oh.
But it doesn't. It makes the whole thing worse.
It makes the whole thing worse.
And it's really great to work with people who are secure enough in themselves to surround themselves with the best people they can find. Because they just love the story. The story is really the whole point, right?
What's your dream job?
I don't know. I've never been able to answer that.
Do you have like a movie that you like, a story you like?
I don't know.
I know I have one movie that we have to do together. I carried that script for like 10 years.
Cormac, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Cormac. That's for sure.
That's weird.
Those kinds of movies are pretty perfect. Yeah, that's wild. If we could have done that. They didn't produce it.
No.
Just so people know, it's a great thing, but no one wanted to do it because everybody dies. And they're like, well, this is depressing.
And I keep we're talking about this. So let me just put this out. Cities of the Plain is a book. It's the third book of the trilogy of Cormac McCarthy. And I got this script in 2007. And I remember I read it, and I get a lot of scripts, and I remember I closed it and I put it right next to, and it's been there for the longest time. And I remember we were talking and you told me there's this novel that I really like, Cities of the Plain. I'm like, I have the script. You do? I have it too. Do you? So I think we got it at the same time because it was like.
Yeah, it was Andrew Dominic.
Andrew Dominic.
His adaptation. And I was doing Jesse James with him at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he gave me that script then.
No, I got it because he was casting it, or it was like in the talks for like the next thing.
Same thing.
And then I was coming here to Austin to reshoot this new season, and I see the script and I had to take a picture. I'm like, Garrett, please text Dominic. It's kind of weird how a story can be in next day.
Well, the good ones.
It cannot go away.
Yeah, everybody knows they're good. It's hard to write a good script. It's hard to make a good television show.
It is difficult.
It's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, the logistics alone. I mean, what's happening on our show right now with the COVID and the protocols and still trying to make something, it's incredible what these people have done.
It's a lot of work.
The crew.
Wow.
I mean, our crew is
blue, red, the whole
crews
blue
are
zone,
really the
red
stars
zone.
of every show.
Yeah, they are. They really set the tone too.
They're there earlier than we are. They stay later.
Yeah.
They're in every take.
They're in every take.
Every take.
All we do is say the lines.
Sometimes we have a take off. Sometimes we have a scene off.
Totally.
It's a real, and I love that about this business. I love that it requires some kind of alchemy for it to work, for all these people to be in sync.
Exactly.
On the same time. That's fantastic.
It's pretty incredible. You worked in Baja.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's how I started working on Fear in the Fox lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was there too. I did a shipwreck movie or a plane crash.
Oh, in the
Lost
Titanic.
At sea, in the Titanic tanks. Yeah.
I ran there like for 2 days when I was shooting the season 2.
Oh, nice.
I was like, this is the Titanic. Yeah. Yes. And I was just running because it's so big.
It's huge.
It's massive. I didn't know you were there.
Yeah, I love that place. I love swimming in those tanks.
It's so nice.
It's very, very
What
cool.
is the hardest thing you've ever done that you had to keep together? Like you had to keep yourself together because you do a lot of stunts. You're not just a good actor.
I don't know what the hardest thing is. I've certainly had some difficult times. Cold is hard.
Yeah, cold. That day that we worked together,
cold and like rain machines on a cold night are hard.
It's hard to say the lines, right?
And it's just hard to not be an asshole. Like, tell me you got it. No, I'd like to go again. Come on.
Remember that night that we were like until like 2:00 in the morning?
Yeah, I remember that night.
It was cold.
And my character has like a shirt, a vest, a coat.
I had nothing. It was just.
It's still a little our business because the cute girls all are like, here, this is your outfit.
Terrible.
For the night. This tiny little jacket and like.
It was,
low-rise jeans or something in the apocalypse. It was freezing.
It was so cold. I remember you were like, are you all right? I'm like, no,
not fair.
I am. This is not my environment, Gary. I'm from Cuba. This is really.
I gave you my earmuffs.
Yes, you did.
They help, right?
Yes. And the next day, I think you brought some,
That's
ear.
That's right.
They're so.
They come around the back so they don't
They come from the back so they don't mess up your hair. So I have it. You're like, keep it. I'm like, I feel like you were giving me the hot water. I was like, oh my God.
So much.
It does. Like, who would have known the ears would be like.
It's just a hole in your body. I guess it's just warm air's coming out, Just like,
it really makes all the difference. And you're like a pro at all that stuff. You have like everything.
Right? After all this time, I'm like, here's what I need to survive.
Yeah. And everything is so different. But that night was one of the toughest nights for me.
Yeah, that was a hard one.
The cold really bothered me. I couldn't say my line. Action. I'm like, it's a me. My brain is frozen.
But I think what I hate the most is coming in sort of midway on a project.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean like we did on Fear, joining in the beginning of a season, but like a movie's been shooting for 3 months.
Oh boy.
And then you come in for your 2 weeks on it or 3 weeks on it, and you're just like, trying to set, like everybody's already bonded. You're the new guy. How's set run? How does, how do you do all this?
It's hard to blend
stuff. And I hate that.
And you have to focus on your job.
Yeah.
And deliver.
I like being there from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, you're part of it. It's like you blend.
You help set that tone.
Yeah. You were part of the whole thing.
And I got to say, doing favors for people, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Well, I have a plan. I think we should work together again.
See?
I think I would not stop. Oh, that's another thing. You speak Spanish.
Some.
No, hablas español muy bien. Tienes un acento medio español, de hecho.
¿De Argentina?
Medio argentino y español.
Oh, sí.
From Spain.
Oh, sí, okay.
Sí. And then you went to Spain. That's how you learned how to speak Spanish, no?
No. En el estado de Washington. piscan las manzanas con los mexicanos.
¿En serio?
Sí, sí. So I thought I probably had like a Mexican accent.
No, no para nada.
maybe my white boy and my Mexican accent adds up to because I don't know the vosotros form.
De vosotros.
That's in Spain.
Sí,
vos. Castilian.
Yeah.
I'm not versed in that.
Yeah, I never forget a story you told me. We were on stages and you had this the background, like you do the background, like what's your the ancestry test.
Oh, right.
And I laughed so hard. They had to kick me out because I could not stop laughing. You were like, Danai. I'm like, how does it work? What are you? You're like, well, I spit on this thing and you see it traveling and I see white. White.
Yeah, my results come back and, they have like this sort of circle of the area you're probably genetically from.
Right.
And it was because I was all excited when I sent my sample in. I was like, maybe there's a little Egyptian in there or,
Greek.
Something.
Totally be
Italian,
Greek. I can see Italian and Greek.
And it was just like 65% British, Irish. It was just like this circle German. Of like Norway. It was just like the whitest of the white. I was like, well.
I remember you like, that's so boring. No wonder I married my wife. It's like some little
something else.
That was funny. I wanted to tell you that I laugh. I tell that story to so many people. Like Garrett is the funniest thing ever. Everything he said is like, he just makes fun of the whole thing.
Well, you're a good audience. You're a good friend.
No, come on. I can't wait until this is over. So we could, those trips that you go to New York or LA.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have that cup of coffee or that salmon or whatever that we have and we talk for a long time.
Well, it's great. It's great to know you and have someone that I feel safe with, and I respect you so much.
So do I.
I want the best for you.
Yeah, me too. And thank you for being here. It really made my day. When I text you, I was like, hi, I'm developing this. You know how much I treasure you and respect you.
The 57th hat you're going to wear, of course.
You mind if you stop by? It was just the best when you're like, yes. I started jumping up and down. The keyboard in me came out. I was like, yes, sí, in Spanish, of course.
Wonderful. Well,
Garrett viene.
I love you. I'd do anything for you.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope that this is not the end. This is the beginning. And I feel like, when we cross paths with people that are like, they stick, it's like, it will carry.
And it's hard. This business is hard. We have these families and we split up and everyone goes their ways and is on to other new little families. But even if it's a long time till I see it, I know it's going to be like it was just a minute ago.
100%. Yeah. But
never worry.
But the good thing is that we're living in the same universe and the same world.
That's right.
The same country.
That's right.
It's crazy. And, we're just a phone call away or
anytime.
A trip away. One of those things, like, it takes just 1 second to change it from like distance to like, Garrett!
That's right.
And I actually call you Garrett with that double A. You're like, keep saying it, don't change it. I was like, everybody's like the opposite, you know that,
My
right?
name's never sounded so cool.
Garrett.
Hey. I'm going to change it to that.
Thank you so much. You're the best.
Yes, ma'am.
Here he is, Garrett. I'm looking at, I don't know what camera. Thank you.
Hasta luego.
Siempre.